Hey there, it's Chris. Welcome back to the next part of the Bang Shishigami project, where last time we had some technical difficulties and decided not to record what was going on. So what you last saw was the hand and the gauntlet kind of getting started out, and where we are now is we got a little more of the gauntlet done. We got the big round part on the edge, we've underneath kind of finished. We did some of the metal work kind of going into it, but that video is lost to time, apparently, or never existed in the first place. So yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and pretend like that never happened, and let's go and start this again. So thankfully it wasn't, in terms of productivity wise, it wasn't the most, I'm going to say, productive of videos. A lot of it was kind of figuring out, because as you can see on the image on the right, we had a nice clear shot of what the gauntlet's going to look like. Until you can turn off the webcam here, you realize there are multiple ways that this has been depicted, depending on which source you use. You can even come back and look at this one. You see the prongs are different on that too. So depending which game specifically we're going off of, and depending which official artwork we want to go off of, this has been redesigned multiple times in various ways throughout basically every rendition of the game. So I figure off the bat, the one on the, hello camera, the one on the right I might use, so I'm going to point on my camera. That's not going to help. I just slid everything over on the computer. Awesome. Nope, one more. Go one more. I need my webcam. So I might do this back. This back joint here might be the same as the one that was on the side here we used actually for the back belt buckle on his Sart. But I think the general overall gauntlet part is going to be off of this. But I think I want the prong section to be more based off of this one, if only because last time, by the end of last session, which again didn't record properly, we had started getting into these front prongs, and what's happening on this design is they're crowding the hand. So it's coming in kind of very tight, and I think if I use this, it kind of spreads it out just a little bit, and it gives the hand just a little bit more room to kind of breathe in. I don't know if I made the hand slightly wide, I don't know, have this part slightly skinny, whatever it is, we need to let that kind of breathe a little bit. So I'm going to finish off, going to touch up this gauntlet. It won't be ready for hardening. I'm still going to need to kind of smooth it all out, do that kind of off camera afterwards before hardening. But once we get that part done, we're going to start beefing up the next hand. So just like this first one, we can kind of get that in place. Again, we'll roughly pop in the full arm, but we're mostly going to be focusing on the gauntlet and the glove on this hand over probably the next 2 or 3 sessions. It's kind of like the legs. You need to, once you do one, you got to do the other. And it's kind of a slow kind of detail grind time on these. But I'm assuming now, because of this, I was expecting this one to go up on Friday. This one's probably going up on Wednesday now, which means that I'm hoping then by the weekend when this comes around, we'll start getting more into the jacket and more into the let's say, exciting, quote unquote, exciting stuff coming down the line. So we will see. But first thing we need to do is took those guys off. That's fine. What I probably should do, actually, too, because they came off real easy, I could go and just put an actual metal piece in those. But at the same time, I shouldn't be hitting the hand anyway with anything. So I'm not, woo, it's too thin. What are we at? We're at 4. We don't want to be at 4. We need this to be thicker. Okay, so there we are. Back to kind of our base width. So this was basically two of those wrapped up, and then just it wraps around the hand, and that's pretty much where we got the Gauntlet part from. But this isn't the Gauntlet part. This is redoing the... Okay, I just want to kind of smooth that down. I'm not extending it per se. I just want to get it a little bit smoother. Let's get those parts out. And let's go ahead and not have anything resembling on camera. Okay, so we need some good old straight lines. That gives us a straight line. That will not. I'm not 100% sure how wide to make this thing, but let's see. Let me just keep these two prongs separate just in case we want to do something with that. Now, because there's going to be a lot of cutting in this, be prepared for the camera to probably be moving around a decent chunk throughout this whole session. It's just going to happen that way. Also, let me get the hand out of here before I do something dumb to that right now, because we've come so far on that, and I don't need to ruin it at this point. And I actually wanted you to be bigger or wider than that, because we needed to wrap kind of around this guy. So let me just do a little rolling here off camera. That will give us what we want. Okay, take two on this. This is just going right along with one of these, with the kind of week it's been. So had the first kind of party, barbecue, whatever thing earlier in the week. Now I have the second one is going to be later on this afternoon. And first one was a little bit of a... had some stuff happen during that one. Yeah, first off, I get there, and I know one or two people, not that many, who were there. Again, it was actually a graduation party. It was actually high school graduation party is what we had to have everything prepped and ready for at the end of all this, the project, which we did get done in time. And deck and all that, it is large enough to hold the crowd that they had, and the inside area is large enough to hold the crowd they had. But I'm talking to one of the people I do know there, and all of a sudden this girl kind of walks up and also starts kind of talking to the same person, and just kind of looks at me and kind of get that little bit of a stare kind of going, like, okay, what's going on? And finally she goes and asks, "What's your last name?" I'm like, that's kind of out of the blue, but yeah, blah, 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 there we go. He's like, I knew it. I knew you looked familiar. I went to the prom with your brother back in high school. What? Okay. Wasn't expecting the things to take that turn while I was at this event, but that's kind of where things went to. Which, yeah, no, it's one of those small world kind of situations. Just kind of, you're reminded once again just how small the world this actually is that we are part of. And so you kind of talk about this, that, and the other, but it's just one of those... Stuff like that does happen. It's not like it can never occur, but it is very rare when it actually does. And okay, so what we've done is we made on that, we have a little notch kind of going in it. So now we need to, let's see, how long do we want to make this? This really doesn't go anything past the thumb, so we're only going to about there at the most. Which again, I'm cutting off camera, but That should be fine. And once again, being as we have 2 of these, yes, that was the big takeaway from that party. With the other being is we had a whole line of like thunderstorms, like the tornado storms that were coming through like the country and whatnot finally got to us, and we had one of those microcells come in like an hour after we got there. So thankfully we made the place big enough. Everything, it was a fairly large group of people there, and it all fit inside, which was great. I mean, that storm just hit like a truck. It came in, it's like somehow the tents and whatnot they'd set up in the backyard didn't completely get blown away and whatnot. But it was a rough section that came in real quick. So I got home, and maybe, I don't know, half hour or so after I get home, I get an email from my boss saying, well, change of plans on work tomorrow. We have an emergency call we need to take care of. Now, I'm a builder. Plumbers get a lot of emergency calls. Things like electricians, you can start to get some emergency calls on that. As a builder, we very, very rarely get an emergency call. It's like once every 5 years we'll get an emergency call. Usually it's when the storms like that come in. And apparently, about 100 yards from where I was parked at the party, during the party, one of the houses not far from there had a tree. It was big. I'd put my hands on here, but it's too small to fit on camera. About maybe 16 inches in diameter-ish, about 30 feet up, snapped and came down and went through the family room window. 3-pane window, went through 2 of the panes. Thankfully, nobody was hurt during that. One of the members of the house was sitting like within 10 feet away from where it came through. But, yeah. So, spent yesterday working on that to at least make it safe to go in, safe to occupy the house. Everything is closed off. Everything is good. It's now ready for the insurance adjusters and all that to kind of come in and do their thing to kind of figure out their end of stuff. But it's just, yeah, no, it's you don't expect stuff like that to happen ever. And sometimes bad things just do. That said, the owner was actually very thankful. Said, yeah, at first you're freaking out, all this stuff goes wrong. But at the same time, she's going, I'm very thankful for the fact that if something like this happens, or when something like this happens, it's just good to know there's somebody to call to take care of this. And I think that's, if nothing else, that's probably the big takeaway from what just happened there. Is that, yeah, if something like that does happen, if you're like a homeowner, or if you're moving into a new place, or you've already been in a place for a while, it's good to set up those types of people. If you don't know who to call when that happens, and you move in somewhere, maybe talk to your neighbors, they may know builders or whatnot. Get a plumber's name on the line, get an electrician's name on the line, get a builder's name, get a landscaper if they're the ones who actually physically took out the tree. We just fixed the window situation, or at least temporarily fixed it. But if you're moving into an area like that, get that stuff squared away at the start, so that if something bad does happen, you have a plan of action that you can then work on, because that will make all the difference in the world. Okay, so we're going to lean you down a little bit so we can see what we're doing. So we have our gauntlet coming up. Now this version of it does kind of a little point that kind of comes up in the mid part, and then it kind of comes down just a little bit on the side there. Yes, like I said, at this point now, everything is kind of out of our hands for the rest. I don't know if we're going to be called in to actually replace the stuff, or we're just there as the emergency guys. I'm not sure how the whole rest of that scenario is going to play out. But at least for now, everything is safe. No additional things are going to happen as a result of where we have left it all. Okay, that's not too bad. I'm liking this. This is giving the hand a little bit more space to breathe, let's say. Now we want this to be kind of centered in here. And as we can see, yeah, now the hand has that breathing room that it didn't have before. So what we need to do is I want to blend this in. And considering that these gauntlets are actually probably going to take longer than the... We don't need the head on here. These gauntlets are actually probably going to take longer than the feet and the shoes did. Losing the last session probably isn't the most terrible thing in the world. There's going to be a lot of this repeat kind of stuff, and figure I'm still working on the same section I was before. And you're going to see generally, the other hand is slightly different with how the gauntlet is set up, but as a generality, not much is changing. So, if we're going to lose one, that's the one to lose. And again, stuff happens. It just fit the theme of the last day of stuff goes wrong, just deal with it, just roll. Okay, so we have that coming out. Now we want to do kind of the same thing on the other side. Oop, wrong way. So that means this needs to come in. We're going to try to do as much as we can on camera, because I feel like, again, in the session that you just missed, I was doing a lot of stuff off camera. I was not angling this thing correctly, just like I'm not really sure I'm angling stuff correctly right now to begin with, but we definitely weren't before. Just because there's just so much up and down, up and down, up and down that has to go on this section that, yeah, it just is. Okay, so if we're up, we have you going there. I feel like I'm a little thinner than I was on the other one. But we can kind of make it a little squattier there, that's fine. So long as when this gets its home, which we need that to come in and actually read like a point. It's supposed to be a point. Okay. Will it blend? I remember that was one of those. I forget which blender commercials or infomercial things it was. Will it blend? It would like go and shove all kinds of stuff in their blender, like the Ninja blender or whatever it was. I forget the name of the product. Which is just a series of, they just shove random junk into a blender and just going, will it blend? Now, will this read like it's supposed to? Hopefully yes. Probably no. At least not without some actual real touching up going on. Again, as long as I can get it close on camera here, I'll do final touch-ups prior to hardening off camera. And that now gets us, this is still a gigantic gauntlet going on, but at least we have something, and it's not crowding the hand this time, so I'm feeling better about that. Now, as I had said, I am going to take the webcam off real quick just to look at the back edge of what I was just pointing to right now, which means nothing. Just looking at the back edge of how that kind of came in, and it looks like it's a fairly simple, or at least fairly straightforward. Let's go and straighten you out. And I just want to take this line down, take that line down, and then we bring it across. So we need that line to feel different. We need in here, because again, if you're coming in that direction, we also need this inside edge to feel like it's not fully blended in. It's not just a surface thing. We need a little bit of both sides. Now, same on here. I'm going to bring you in. I'm going to bring you in. We're going to come on up and in. Now, we really don't need to round any of those edges. It just needs to feel like it's joining in as kind of a smooth area on that. And I can see we also have, what do we have here we can work with? Okay, so I see those little kind of dots, and I see also this does crimp just a little bit on the end. Can I do a good crimp? I'm just just rocking down, putting a little bit of pressure on it, just to get a little crimp on that end. I don't want this one to be in your face. I want that one to be kind of very, very subtle. Well, I'm looking, we are still recording, so this is good. This time is going to be nice, and at least you're actually seeing the fun part of this. You kind of missed the blocking out phase, but at least we get the fun part of this, which also means it's going to be like 3 hours to do a hand in the end, which is slightly more than I anticipated. Or hand slash arm. But that's not, as long as it comes out in the end, that's kind of the important thing. As long as it's going to look good for the finished product, that's what we want. And again, you may look at things and say, why is he crimping? It's just such a small detail, it doesn't really matter. But it does give a little bit more definition to it. It does actually make a little bit of a difference. So that's why we do these types of things. Like, overall, you may think it's just so small, it doesn't matter. But if you keep adding up small detail to small detail to small detail, eventually they really do make a difference in the end. So to the extent that I can, I do try to add these things as possible, just to kind of, it does make it feel a little more lifelike when it is done right. Okay, good. 3 sides down, time for the last section. Time for the last crimping part. Oh, with the glare on here, I can barely see what I'm doing. I have no idea if you can see what's going on or not, but that one was a little rough for my own visual. But it worked in the end. Okay, so now if we look, we have those little kind of rectangle-y things that are on here, and actually up top here has a little bit of that crimp going as well. So let's, even if it's just the outside edge of it, so let's go and add that. No idea if it's done on this end of it or not, but might as well just go all the way around. I'm not gonna lie, I can't wait for this jacket part to go in so it actually feels like it's back in scale again. Because, yeah, it's nice having this good Thanos-size gauntlet thing going on, but we need this to fit with the rest of the project too. I'm not gonna lie, it is nice having this, but we do need it to fit. Okay, so as for those things, I can't tell if they're poking out or being pushed in. That doesn't help at all. If we turn you off, that's not really helping at all either. So let me try pushing it in first, and then if that doesn't work, we can add more out. Now let's see, there are a couple ways we can go about doing this. Whoop. It's really not much bigger than this. And for that kind of thing, all I need to do is make just like a little template that we can then just kind of take that, and let's say we have a nice smooth surface here. If I dab that in, I can make a little rectangle, which is about that size. Because if I use any of these tools, they're actually not quite the size I want for it. So we get 2 of these going on. We have one on this side. One on this side. And now that looks wrong, because now I can go and give it a steeper edge. And there we go. We have ourselves a little indent, and that kind of works. Okay, so we got those. Should have, let's figure 2 more down on the bottom. I do believe symmetry does work well on this type of situation. So if for whatever reason anybody wants to actually flip this guy upside down and look at this, you know, normal type stuff, they'll be able to see that it's in there. You can kind of see what I'm doing on camera, which is awesome. Alright, so we have that. Let's strengthen this line back up. Because what I did find is we do have if we move this guy over, we did have an image of what's going on the back side of this, which was great. So I was able to kind of figure out that. And this will also help when I get to the fist of the gauntlet on his right side. So otherwise, I think we're kind of there. I can't really see much more stuff going on with this one. There's not much more of a visual happening. And if I turn you off and I turn the webcam off, yeah, there's really not much more to see in regards to what's happening on that. So outside of kind of like pre-hardening kind of touch-ups and make it look good, because the odds are I might be hitting it somewhere, I might put it down, things are going to happen. So I'm not going to go nuts on cleaning that up yet. I think by and large, I'm going to call it on this hand section, and we're going to jump over to the other hand. And what time are we at? We're halfway through this session, so that's not too bad. We're up. The fact that his hand is like the size of his foot is awesome. So let's just see. Yeah, you can even see if we come back to here, having his arm literally be like the same size of his leg there. That's actually kind of correct. We have his calf is the one size. You can see the arm is about the same, and that is what we would expect on this guy. I might be a hair big on the hand stuff, but I think again, once the sleeves of his jacket puff out, it's going to feel kind of okay. So if we go back, way back to, I want to say 2 episodes or 2 sessions ago, it's really only a session ago, when we were doing the first hand, we were at the stage where we were adding a glove to the hand. So we gotta go back and do that again. And we can get rid of some of this stuff that we don't need. Yes, all the stuff we just did over here, time to go ahead and do it on the other side. The only difference being, this hand is glued in. I can't take this on or off. When we attach this one, we are not going to be gluing this hand on. So it's going to make some things a little trickier, but in the end, I think we're going to be fine. That said, I don't think we're getting to that today. I think the rest of today is going to be putting the glove on and getting kind of the knuckle situation done again. And then next time we're going to start the actual hand portion. Let's see, we want you to be a little... I have the posture roller. I'm staring at the posture roller as I roll this thing out. This is how I used to do things before I got the posture roller, which is fine for little stuff like this. However, if you want to do like capes and cloaks and stuff like that, it is miserable trying to roll that out. If I want to do like a cape, like coming down him, if I do like the scarf that's going to come all the way around, trying to roll that out to be a consistent width throughout is just, it's bad times. It is bad times. Now, the good news with this side is on this hand, if now we turn everything off, he's got a fist going on his right hand. So I really don't need to worry too much about what's happening underneath here. I had a lot of smoothing and whatnot I'd do underneath here to kind of make it look right, to get the palm kind of in there. I don't need to worry about the palm on this hand. So I'm generally going to make these fingers, I'm going to put this on here, I'm going to make his kind of glove, the cutout glove look going. But after that, I think I'm going to finally clench the hand to how it needs to be, and then I'll put the knuckle guards, or the knuckle stuff, on top of that, and that's going to be how we do this next phase. So we want to wrap you around. I can take that. Whoop. Nope, 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 nope. Chop it. Not you. All of a sudden I used to have 3 tools, now I have 5 tools here, because I have the pointy one, and I still have this guy around, so I have more things I need to look through before I find the one I actually need for any given section. So if this is going to be anything like the other hand, what's going to happen is I'm going to make this, it's going to wind up being too thin. When I finally clench the hand, it's going to look like it's too small, and I might need to then re-beef out everything. And if that happens, that's fine. That is going to be okay, because again, smoothing these pieces on is going to change the size of the hand. Smoothing anything, clenching it's going to change the size. So I'm going to be doing all these kinds of little things that will be slightly changing the size of stuff. It'll be flattening things out. We'll be doing this, that, or the other. That's going to be fine. Because again, like this hand, I spent a lot of time in the left hand. Last session, which you didn't see, just getting it back to the correct form. And I'm anticipating kind of the same again. Let's see, actually, I probably want the smaller half of this. I don't need to blend that much stuff. And actually, we know not to blend all the way around the finger. We only need to do the top, and really I don't even need to worry about the bottom part, because again, we're not going to see the bottom part. So, not going to worry about that at all. I guess theoretically I could be clenching the hand first before doing this as well, but I've made my choice. We're just going this way. I'm pretty sure this is going to look ugly when I first try to clench the hands. It always does. It's going to take then a lot of finagling to... It's going to take a lot of work to get to look back correct again and get back to kind of the right size. But at least I now have this I can go off of to always be judging the size from. So I'm not 100% flying blind on that anymore. I don't need to pull these guys out to do stuff and do this, that, and the other. No, I do have the other hand I can now just literally go right off of. So life should be a little better in that regard. Whoop. All right. Let's see. I was taking a quick peek at the clock. And yeah, no, we still have like 20 minutes to go. So hopefully we'll get... Yeah, we're not going to do anything on the arm itself. This is all... We're going to be on this hand the rest of this session. And that's just going to be... That is going to be that. It's going to take that long to clench the fist correctly, and then kind of start doing the knuckle stuff and get this, that, and the other done. It's just it will take some time to get all this stuff going. But we need this prep work done before we can do the next session. The next session is going to have big changes. That's going to be kind of the roughing out the arm, roughing out the gauntlet, kind of getting all of that, generally speaking, looking okay. And then we get into detailing phase after that. So next session should have decent chunk of visual progress. Same time, hopefully that will help counterbalance. If I wasn't on camera, I apologize. But that should help counterbalance the model, so the one arm doesn't feel just straight up gigantic. Maybe now two arms will feel gigantic, but let's see. Unlike last time, let's not forget to do the thumb this time. Thumb does count. It counts for something. And as I say, I don't need to worry about the under part of the hand. I have done now 3 of the 5 fingers, depending what you call a thumb or not. If you're going to be a smart aleck and go, thumb's not a finger. Well, for this purpose, yeah, we have 3 of these 5 guys here. I did do underneath when I didn't have to. Alright, so the trick, part of the problem I had, the first couple models I had done when I did hands, because you saw my Lamisa one, I forget if Saria made it on here or not, but she has clenched hands too. A couple of the first ones had the clenched hands, and what I had wrong is you would just kind of fold the fingers over and say, yep, there we go. We have a clenched hand. Bam. It's not how clenched hands work. If you look at it, it goes up, straight. It's not a rounded. You need to work. You do need to look at the knuckle structure on it to kind of work correctly. So that comes in, and once you get that, and we're going to basically redo everything I just did to accommodate this. And we can now see this looks like a very hideous looking hand. But we're now in a place where we can start to actually fix it. And okay, this finger is index finger. You're a little big. Let's maybe give some of that back to the thumb. Oh, you know that nice glove kind of look I just put on every single finger? Guess what I get to do again, because it all disappeared. Which was fine, because the hand needed more mass anyway. It was a little light in that regard. So, adding more clay to it wasn't a bad thing, but we do need to redo that look. So I just made a little line across the top where the glove goes. And now I'm just kind of pushing in just a little bit. To kind of get that to work. Now we're starting to get the fist. Back of the hand is terrible, but I haven't done anything to the back of the hand yet. Still is kind of focusing on this half of it. Now if we go, you look at it, we have this whole muscle sticks out, which is awesome. You can ignore this little line right there. I don't know if you can see it on camera. That was a scar from way back when. Theoretically, I'm not supposed to be able to move my thumb, according to the doctor from like 30 some years ago. About 30 years ago. Because when I was a kid, I had an injury which cut through about 90% of my muscle back here. So there's wasn't a whole lot of stuff left to regrow, but thankfully when you're a kid, things can grow back in ways that they're really not supposed to. So thankfully it all worked out in the end. We were over in a quarry looking at rocks, or looking for rocks. Fell back, put my hand down, and sliced open my hand. It kind of fell back, yeah, and put my hand down. Yeah, I definitely sliced open the hand pretty good on that one. I did a number on it. First time I had to wear, it wasn't really a cast, but it was just wrapped up real good. Being wrapped up real good in the summer is a little rough. I think if you're gonna have an injury or have something go wrong, it's probably better to do it in the winter. This summer, when it's hot and it's humid out, things are sticky. Yeah, no, don't injure yourself that time of year. Hold off to when it's more expedient for you. Also, if you're going to injure yourself, do it when you're a kid because you heal yourself faster. I've been told that by a doctor before when I broke my shoulder. I had to sit in a sofa for 7 weeks. First thing he said when he saw me was, well, if you were younger, you'd heal faster. I'm like, thanks. I'm not old yet, and I really wasn't, because I'm like 10 years older now than I was before, and I'm still not old. So, there's that. Okay, we're getting somewhere. I completely, once again, lost the line on these guys. I think that's just going to be a fight we're going to continue to have quite often, is getting that line to work. Okay, so we need the knuckle part going, and we still have time for it, so. Knuckle is going to go across the top. Okay, so how did we do this last time? We have, you need to come out a little bit wider because I cut you too much, which happens, which is fine. So if I do something like this, it'll square it back up. Oh, I stopped talking. It means I'm concentrating. Which I kind of am on this one. Okay, we need to get these little triangle-y pieces out. Alright, it's coming. Nope, 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 nope. Get out. Okay, so we got the bottom of that going. Let's see how. Alright, so size-wise we are kind of matching up with you, so that's helpful to see. It's just nice having a little confirmation, and every time I hit this, I keep hitting the fingers, so I should just not worry at all about the fingerless gloves thing, and just do that maybe at the very end, when I need to stop holding on to his hand here. Because all I'm going to keep doing is frustrating myself. Okay, so we need to cut a little more off this time than before, because I made the piece was a little bit wide. So a little more of this stuff is coming off, that's okay. Okay, let's see if we can make that look somewhat decent. Alright, so now on top of this, we need to add the little, well, I'm going to say on top of this, add the cherry on top, but that's, yeah. A little too much of the word on top. Alright, so once again, we have this little deer tick size piece, which is twice the size of what we need. So we cut that in half. I'm going to keep the other half on my finger so I don't let it disappear. If you can, I don't think camera's going to focus that far, but you can trust me, there is a piece on there. We're just going to smush it down in here just a little bit to kind of get, I smushed that one a little too much. Okay. Now we want a little smush, not a too big a smush. We do need you to still read as a dot on there. Alright, next one. Hey, you just worked right away. Awesome. And the last. Alright, so he has knuckles, which, given that big honking thing that he has on the hand, you're not going to see much of it directly, but it's there. What time are we? We're a few minutes short of where we need to, of like the usual kind of requisite ending time. However, we're getting... Yeah, I think that's kind of what I was missing a little bit. Something to make it feel like the hand is actually carving, or going, or the fingers are kind of going around a little bit. Alright, thumb's not feeling 100% correct, but we're going to give ourselves a start at this hand. I think we're going to stop early. Next session, we get to add it to here. We get to add the hand to here, and then we're going to really start at least balancing out the two sides. They're not going to be 100% the same. We're going to start balancing out the two sides and making it look good. Like I said, I think we're going to stop there for this segment. As I said, you can see we do have some good visual progress. We do have some good visual progress on this. It does look like we're getting somewhere. We can pop you back on here just so we have our orcish face back on again. But, yeah, no, we have hand coming soon. Or hand number 2 coming soon. Let's see, how's our width? I feel like we're a hair skinnier than the other one, but that's, by the time all is said and done, that's probably going to work its way out too and rectify itself. So, that's where we are with that. Next time, blocking out the arm and gauntlet. It's going to start looking a lot better now. So, until then, enjoy.